Again, this is another sign of the times, an analysis, and a commentary. It's also time for the spiritual and physical manifestation of the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 16, verse 16. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. The world's attention has been riveted on negotiations aimed at curbing Iran's nuclear program. If and when that deal is made final, America and the other major powers that worked on it, China, Russia, Britain, France, and Germany, should turn their attention to South Asia, a troubled region with growing nuclear risks of its own. They say Pakistan, with the world's fastest growing nuclear arsenal, is unquestionably the biggest concern, one reinforced by several recent developments. Pakistan has announced that it has approved a new deal to purchase 8 diesel-electric submarines from China, which could be equipped with nuclear missiles for an estimated $5 billion. Last month, Pakistan test-fired a ballistic missile that appears capable of carrying a nuclear warhead to any part of India. Pakistan seems to be determined to continue developing short-range tactical nuclear weapons whose only purpose is use on the battlefield in a war against India. These investments reflect the Pakistani Army's continuing obsession with India as the enemy, a rationale that allows the generals to maintain maximum power over the government and demand maximum national resources. Pakistan now has an arsenal of as many as 120 nuclear weapons and is expected to triple that in a decade. Just what the world does not need: more nuclear weapons. And an increase of that size makes no sense, especially since India's nuclear arsenal, estimated at about 110 weapons, is growing more slowly. The two countries have a troubled history, having fought 4 wars since independence in 1947, and deep animosities persist. The Prime Minister of India has made it clear that Pakistan can expect retaliation if Islamic militants carry out a terrorist attack in India, as happened with the 2008 bombing in Mumbai. But the latest major conflict was in 1999, and since then, India, a vibrant democracy, has focused on becoming a regional economic and political power. At the same time, Pakistan has sunk deeper into chaos, threatened by economic collapse, the weakening of political institutions, and, most of all, a Taliban insurgency that aims to bring down the state. Advanced military equipment, new submarines, and medium-range missiles with a reported range of up to 1,700 miles, and short-range tactical nuclear weapons are of little use in defending against such threats. The billions of dollars wasted on these systems would be better spent investing in health, education, and jobs for Pakistan's people. Even more troubling, the Pakistani army has become increasingly dependent on the nuclear arsenal because Pakistan cannot match the size and sophistication of India's conventional forces. Pakistan has left open the possibility that it could be the first to use nuclear weapons in a confrontation, even one that began with conventional arms. Adding short-range tactical nuclear weapons that can hit their targets quickly compounds the danger and is a form of insanity. Pakistan is hardly alone in its potential to cause regional instability. China, which considers Pakistan a close ally and India a potential threat, is continuing to build up its nuclear arsenal, now estimated at 250 weapons, while all 3 countries are moving ahead with plans to deploy nuclear weapons at sea in the Indian Ocean. No, The world does not need more nuclear weapons. So then, this is not a situation that can be ignored by the major powers, however preoccupied they may be by the long negotiations with Iran. In other words, Iran is more like the diversion. North Korea is also trying to build more nuclear weapons. Also, President Putin of Russia has added new, chilling nuclear threats to his aggression in Ukraine, where at least 6,000 people have been killed in a war with Russian-backed separatists. Mr. Putin wants to expand his country's influence and standing, but his alarming behavior has estranged Russia from most other major powers, damaged its economy, and narrowed its future options. Even for Mr. Putin, the recent nuclear threats have set a new benchmark for hostility in the conflict he has ignited with the West. A few weeks ago, the Times of London reported on a meeting between Russian generals and American officials in which the Russians threatened a spectrum of responses from nuclear to non-military if NATO moved more military forces into the Baltic states. Last month, the Russian ambassador to Denmark warned that Danish warships will be targets for Russia's nuclear weapons if Denmark follows through on its expressed interest in joining NATO's missile defense system. And in remarks aired on March 15th, Mr. Putin said he was ready to bring nuclear weapons into a state of alert last year when Russia was in the process of invading and annexing Crimea. Some Russian officials have also hinted at the possibility of reintroducing nuclear weapons to Crimea, which has been free of them for 2 decades. All of this reflects a cynical disregard for Russia's post-Cold War role as a partner with America in arms control treaties designed to discourage the spread of nuclear weapons. These threats inevitably raise tensions and could increase the chances of deadly miscalculations. So then, Russia's bellicose behavior is a serious test for NATO, which has sometimes shown disturbing divisions. The Europeans and the United States have to stay united in maintaining sanctions on Russia and in continuing air patrols and training exercises, as it becomes increasingly difficult to predict Mr. Putin's next move. Again, Revelation chapter 16, verse 16. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. In other words, it has begun. Revelation chapter 6, verse 7. And when he had opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th beast say, Come and see. 8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth, to kill with sword and destroying weapon, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Revelation chapter 16, verse 8. And the 4th angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch humans with fire. 9. And humans were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of God, which has power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. So then, again, it's time for the spiritual and physical manifestation of the book of Revelation. And all these are more signs. And this is what I feel, see, and think